Hello, elderly and sick citizens, I'm here. In the course of the game, there were more errors than I thought. In fact, there were far more requests for rule changes than errors. This is the movement just before the original distance B attack decision comes out. I thought I had finished filming everything, but maybe I'm getting old and sick. I didn't press the record button and was just thinking by myself. Although various boss characters are annoying, 98 Omega Rugal is definitely well made. While other bosses have many basic motions missing, this guy is very well filled out, and there's nothing strange about him being a boss on his own. Then I will try to understand Omega Rugal, who has been requested for several years. This is the motion before the B attack pattern comes out. In fact, I thought I had filmed everything, but maybe I'm getting old and sick. I didn't press the record button and I was just thinking. The reach is long, so it's a pretty good zoning tool from a distance A. It seems like the attack point is high, but you can hit most of the close friends. Unfortunately, the judgment itself is not as good as the hitbox, but it is still good for zoning using the reach. It's really good if you can handle it, but it's a difficult close combat A. As you saw in the hitbox, it is effective in cutting high jumps. However, it's not an easy task to aim and use this. Because it's a close range type, you have to press it when the opponent is attached, but if you're a little hasty, it sends a long distance A. In fact, Omega's basic attack as a roll is meaningless. However, if I were to mention more advantages, the activation frame of the close range A is extremely fast. It's on the same level as the close range 100. You can also cancel it, but in reality it doesn't connect when you use it in combo form. Well, the long range B, which looks insanely good, is ambiguous for defense. Big Size's character Lich is considerably long, but it's shorter than the long range B of the high level Gambus. And the fortunate thing is that it's holding the lower judgment after receiving the Gambus. But if the distance is just a little bit closer, you will definitely get a delay catch. This is the basic move of high risk slow return. It's a basic move to throw and control the opponent and get hit by the deal. This really needs to be seen to the end and thrown no matter what. This is a close-up B that adjusts your neck. It's a basic move that you sometimes use when you're about to pass out, if you know that much. The startup frame itself is one frame slower than the close-up A. Nevertheless, you can link all linkable elements. It's the long range 100 that you use when you accidentally press it from a distance. It triggers the boss's main weapon, the explosion, with the circle button. But funnily enough, if you use them at the same time, the explosion and the water cannon overlap because of the lag, which I think is the quality of the boss. Even if the cross counter breaks, there's more money in your hand. In fact, I was joking when I said that the water cannon is empty and so on. This is a problem whether it's hit or scratched. Even if the original C's recovery frame is 4B, it's at a level that doesn't end even if you go to the mountain and come back. The details are wonderful, but there's no easy way to conquer the world. The opponent's big damage combo will tear you apart when you let your guard down even a little. The basic skill often used for main combo in the game is close 100. The good point is that you can use ET at any time. Whether it's the first hit or the second hit, the player can cancel at the desired moment. However, if you go all the way to the second hit, you have to worry about hitback. So if you feel the starting distance is a bit far, you should cancel after the first hit. It becomes difficult to connect to the next move like this. Compared to the normal attack, it has a longer range in all aspects. It's a distance 500. One slightly disappointing thing is the reach is a bit shorter than the normal attack. Still, from the decision frame to the attack sustain frame, it's better than the normal attack. However, it's better not to think about doing anything with this. This also reduces the recovery frame itself, so it's getting narrower and narrower. You can see the same movement whether the opponent is attacking or defending. Of course, it's safe if you keep your distance, but how easy is it to keep that distance? It can sometimes be used for offense, but I don't have much faith in it. It's the full version, but there's a chance a close-up 500 could appear. It's a good close-up 500 if you just use one hit. The close-up 500 consisting of 2 hits has the same startup frame as the close-up 100. What's the difference with close-up 100? The advantage of the first hit is that it can be cancelled, which is unique to close-up 100. Additionally, the first hit does not get blocked or guarded by the opponent. If you use up to the second hit without cancelling, you will be hit with a delay catch by default. If you can use a quick technique in the middle, even in the guard, the close-up 500 will be blocked. If you miss the cancel timing and put in all 2 hits, you will be hit with a delay catch. When you see people who roll well, they always know how to sit down and hit A, and there's a reason for that. Big sizes crouching A also has a considerably long reach, but the motion and learning frame are short, so the continuity is good. So it's very good to check hits by throwing this multiple times. The motion frame is not just fast, it's extremely fast, making it top tier. It's the only basic move that can take responsibility for the lower combo of Rugal. Not only is the activation fast, but the reach is also incredibly long. Since it's impossible to cancel with this technique, you have to connect it with another basic move. At this time, you definitely need the high performance guard A, so if you're going to roll, you must definitely master this. It's the guard 100 of the roll that lifts the opponent up. It would be nice if you could turn your shoulders a little bigger and increase the attack power, but if you use this wrong, it's just a basic move that goes to the waist. At least it's fortunate that a cancel is possible, but if you just stick it on without a cancel, it means to kill yourself. Well, it's too harsh to be turned back because you couldn't cancel once. With Goro, you can use a catching technique after a slight delay. Well, if there's no cancel, this kind of situation happens. And whether it's a big attack or a close approach, Omega has so many options. But shall we use this basic skill without any world-changing gimmicks? Well, it's to the point where you can't even execute it with a big attack. So honestly, when you play Rugal, it seems like you can just press the 100 button. Pressing the Seer button followed by the 3 button allows you to perform the expert move while executing the advantage move. Honestly, it's a bit ambiguous to call it a matter, but it's a must to sit down and hit the basic skill. In the case of Omega's roll, if you overtake the opponent, a situation where you really hit the goal is created, but I will show that in the technical part later. Sitting down and hitting someone in close combat is nonsensical and something even a child shouldn't do. Well, it's good to use it strategically from a distance, one at a time. If not, you're in for a surprise. Well, there's no other way but to push them away with a special move. Well, some people say they can attack with this, but unless you can completely read the opponent's movements, it's almost impossible. Well, it's possible to attack, but I wonder if such a catching technique is necessary against Omega Rugal. Well, Omega Rugal has a powerful attack that can turn the tide. The fact that he uses this means it's only possible when he's significantly stronger than his opponent. Well, even if the opponent is a small key, he will face it alone on a low day. If you tell me to write, I will, but it's harmless even if I don't. The movement itself is one of the fastest among the basic jump skills, and the attack maintenance frame also lasts the longest among the basic jump skills. However, if you don't find it difficult to use this even with the upperform basic skill, you don't necessarily have to use this unless you intentionally leave the jump basic skill. If you use it late, you can knock it down to the bottom, so you can't just say it's bad. Well, it's Jump B that handles the roles of the rules. In Russian, it's a completely different basic skill, but it's a good basic skill as much as you can knock down the power as you want from the top of the opponent's head. Well, it's generous enough to hit even if it goes over the opponent's head. It's a skill guard that even slow and weak people can use. I mentioned that you can do it without the 100 key when I roll. The judgment itself came out as a rush, but it's a jump 100 of Rugal without a shield in the back. Among the basic jump skills, the launch is the slowest. The judgment itself is not bad, but the reach is quite short. Anyway, if you're going to go into a reach fight, there's no reason to use anything better since you have jump 500 for judgment fights. After defeating Rugal, honestly, you can just use the basic jump skill 500. The judgment itself is on par with jump 100, but the fact that the reach is incredibly long is a big advantage. If you keep hitting like this with a small point plus, you can't win with basic skills. Even if it's not as much as B, you can still sufficiently launch a counterattack. Counterattack as you wish with B or 500. With the extension, if conditions allow, you can build a large attack aircraft. Although it's not a superior decision, it's a jump CD that has a strangely good pressure ability. The attack is judged to go down completely, but when the attack is judged quickly with the extension, it is difficult for the opponent to respond. The lengthy competition exposes the loophole prematurely. Once you start pressing, it's somewhat effective, but if the opponent knows the hitbox, even if you just throw the upper form basic, it's a loophole. It's a technique where you create an electric barrier and blow it away with wind. This technique has more weaknesses than you think, and it's hard to win with it unless the opponent is a novice. Especially against friends like Chris who can stick to the ground. It may seem like the barrier is blocking the transmission, but in fact it's not, and as shown in the example, the bottom is defenseless. One side of the barrier can also determine damage, so it takes such attacks. Next is the performance of the barrier, but it really has a boss-down judgment. It withstands normal blasts and breaks through, and even a single extended blast is blocked by the barrier. Unfortunately, when it's blown, 2 blasts disappear together. It can't block all of Max's blasts, but as you can see, it doesn't take much damage. After the jump basic skill, you can also use the pen skill. Well, it's the trademark technique of Rugal. When you go down the hill, everyone is scared because of this, and so am I. The movement frame itself is the same as normal Rugal. The visible difference is that Omega Rugal pops up one more time at the end, making it harder to approach because of that extra pop-up. I mentioned that the movement frame is the same, but the invincibility judgment is completely different. Omega Rugal disappears completely during the movement, and the attack judgment is generated quite a while after the invincibility judgment. So in terms of performance from a large attack, it's the best like a boss character. As an extreme example, you can even ignore it while the large attack is coming in. It's a very reliable technique that you can use as a leader, allowing you to ignore and approach anything the opponent puts up. It's a technique that can attack but also can serve the role of a reflector for projectiles. If you've been using this while playing, you've probably seen it counterattack with just a gust of wind. This technique doesn't have much difference from the normal version. It perfectly matches with the normal one from activation to maintenance frame count. The point of this technique is that it can counter all gusts. It makes the extended gust of the normal version meaningless. The extended gust that consumes energy can also be countered. The max version is also possible, but that's where it gets weird. As you keep countering, even if you get hit, the damage doesn't really add up. I'm not sure if this part is due to a bug, but if anyone knows, I'd appreciate it if you could explain in the comments. 98 Omega is the strongest technique of Rugal. For reference, if you use it as a weak attack, the judgment is in front, and if you use it as a strong attack, the judgment is behind Rugal, which is important because if you use this first, the judgment is not right, so Rugal is beaten. Even if the opponent goes with a fast basic attack, Rugal always wins. Even if you eat a combo once in max state, it usually exceeds the maximum utilization of other characters. In combo terms, you should use it as a weak attack. This is a strong attack. Now, while sitting and explaining, I mentioned that it's important to knock over the opponent. If you keep a strong attack at this time, the counter-attack decision comes out. Whether the opponent is cheating or not, there is nothing to lose by first attacking strongly. Now, you've chosen the guard motion, but suddenly the guard breaks and you're stuck facing the wall. Now, it seems that this phenomenon occurs when using a strong attack. Now, not only in the abnormal situation, but also in the guard situation, it continues to happen. I don't know why this phenomenon occurs. Now, as the rule disappears, the ball turns around and gets stuck. So, if the opponent were to guard and you were to use a strong barrier, whether it's a hit or a miss, I don't know, and you don't know, and the result is a hit or miss. If anyone knows the conditions for a vanishing backhand, I would appreciate it if you could leave a comment. It's a technique that corners the opponent to the wall. The decision and frame are the same for both normal and Omega. The difference is that Omega has one more damage that spins around. I tried using them at the same time, but they clashed with each other. If you smash a combo with a max node, any decent character will definitely be knocked out. That's how much damage is inflicted. It consumes only one energy, but it's a truly world-shaking technique with no equal. The motion itself uses the same continuous catch as Lucari. It's a technique that doesn't exist in normal play, but you have to memorize this command so you don't accidentally activate it. Omega's strength is that Lucari's mega power doesn't feel diminished at all. Well, I'll just put this in the bag and say no more about it. Now, the same command made Nomel spin around, but Omega, with its spinning performance and big damage, easily knocks it out. Well, the game is so long that it's easy to lose count. It's as invincible as a genocide and so long that you can rush in with a reversal. If you lock this in max mode and combo, you can pretty much annihilate any character. It's fortunate that the computer doesn't know this. Of course, we should finish the video by defeating the boss. While humans can't multitask like a central processing unit, its power makes it very strong even without multitasking capabilities. I wanted to show you the traditional recipes, but it's hard against the central processing unit. Well, I wanted to enjoy and play here, but the central processing unit couldn't handle it. Well, that's it for now. Usually, I end the video like this, but I've prepared a small event.